I think the first problem you've got is to actually get your partner, if that's the right word, to accept there is a problem. Because I think that's part of the denial phase, is that people don't want to accept there is actually a problem.
Yeah.
If you go back to 1982 or even more recent than that, our knowledge of PTSD was non-existent on a public level. You never even heard of it. It's quite recent. All this is coming to the surface, like this conversation now. So I think, if you talk about it in the context of today, it's not unknown, and there's plenty of help out there. So the mystery's gone. What else can she do? It's hard to say, because the reactions you get can be very, very strange. I mean, sleeping with your partner, for example, when he's biting his hand in his sleep, when he's screaming, when he's waking up, and much worse than a nightmare kind of reaction. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've met people that can't sleep together for that reason. We might belittle that element of a marriage, but I think it's essentially important, and it's a major problem. Behavior with other people, self-harming, for example. They start drinking a lot of alcohol, or they might get into drugs, or other bizarre behaviors which just are out of character. Those are all signs, but there are signs before that. They're subtler signs when it's starting to develop.
Yeah.
Perhaps appetite loss, a lower libido, an obsession with war films, perhaps. I'm just talking at random here because there's so many.
But you've seen all this in people that you've.
I have, yes, that's right, yeah. And these are the very early signs. Yeah. Now, what I'm trying not to do here is sort of, get the whole world start panicking that their partner's suddenly got PTSD, because not necessarily true, but it becomes apparent that something isn't right. And when people are super sensitive, to give an example, my eldest girl was, I think it's right to say this because I think she probably knows, on the assumption she might see this, that the night of the blue on blue was the night after her first birthday. So that's always a strange time of year for me. On the one hand, I want to celebrate. On the other hand, obviously, you can imagine. But when I got home, and the problem started pretty much straight away, every time she cried, which all children do, I had to leave the house. And of course, my wife couldn't understand this. Why am I running away from my little daughter when she's crying? The reason was the noise she made was identical to the noise of the men who'd been killed on the battlefield. And I couldn't say that to her. I couldn't tell her anything about this. Yeah. So there's a chasm straight away. So if there's something that's developed in your relationship and it's just inexplicable, or there's a silence, or there's no explanation or something, or he's going off on his own for long periods when he never used to do.
Yeah.
I mean, just ask yourself, what was it like before something happened? And I think the helpful thing is to discover what was that trigger, what event has happened, and then you can do the sort of, and forgive me for being sort of apparently dismissive to the religious people here, but I call it BC and AD, before crisis and after damage. And I can put my finger right on a time and a location when that happened to me. Mm-hmm. Not always the case. Some people, it's a collection of events, so it might just creep up on them rather than be immediately apparent. But essentially, I think that's all you can do, and then you need to get professional help as quickly as possible.